Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 82 of the podcast. My name is Rick Louise. I'll be your host this week. This week, I got my hands on a jar of RazoRock P 160 soap. And so I start off with a couple of shaves of the day with my Aristocrat razor, just to kind of keep things on an even keel and check things out. I'll tell you all about it. This last weekend, I put a better amateur radio in my truck. It's a VHF UHF radio. Much better reception. I've wanted one in my truck for a while. Finally got around to doing it. I'll tell you about it. Then, because it is so similar and so reminiscent, I do a head-to-head comparison between the RazoRock P160 and Cella. And I'll tell you about it. Now, one thing that's interesting to note is, in my segments, while I was doing this in the truck, I just had it in my head for some reason that Cella was the least expensive of the two, and in fact, that's not the case if I look at the prices at Maggard's. In fact, there's a little bit of a difference in prices, and the RazoRock actually comes up a little less expensive. So it doesn't change what my conclusions are and what my recommendations are, because there's really not that much of a difference. But when I say there's not that much of a difference, not that much of a difference in pricing. But I did want to make that clear because, well, heck, I couldn't remember. I'm getting old. Oh, it happens. Anyhow, we'll talk about that head-to-head experience. I've got a segment in here that, well, it's just kind of a play on words, but I talk about Zoom and caffeine. You'll have to listen to it to know what I'm talking about. Then I got a little brave over the weekend, and in fact, Monday and Tuesday, I actually did shaves of the day with, well, my straight razor. And while, the weekend was one thing, Monday and Tuesday actually went very, very well. And so I'll tell you about that a little bit. And during that part, I do give a special shout out to somebody. And if you get an opportunity, go check out Mantic's site, Sharpologist. There's a link in the show notes. You can just click on that link. Go check out Sharpologist. Give him the support because he's doing something that a lot of people don't do. And, if we as the wet shaving community can support him, well, we need to do that because goodness knows he has given a lot to us. I do a segment. I'm afraid here at the house, I have a fallen angel. Yeah, I had a problem with my Police-On brush. Well, the Police-On brush has been touted from time to time as being the brush of the gods. So, I've always associated my brush, my Police-On, being the brush of the gods, and being uber soft, it's obvious that it's an angel. Well, apparently, I have a fallen one. I'll tell you about it and tell you what happened. I also tell you about marketing, and there's an article that I've got a link to about Beats headphones. And if you want to understand what we're facing when it comes to marketing, you need to read that article because it's kind of eye-opening. All right, so to start the show, I did get a message from Richard Kalura, and he said that he wanted to let me know that Bill T had retired from the honing business, and yes, he did, and also from selling the gold dollar razors. And Richard here has bought up his inventory and will be continuing the business from this point on. He set up a Facebook page, and the Facebook page is facebook.com RJ Shaving, and so I'll put a link in the show notes for that too. And his email is rjshaving@gmail.com, and he said he'd appreciate a shout out. And so here's your shout out, Richard. And I've seen his Facebook page, liked it, and so keep up with him. And so there you go. There's a place where you can get some inexpensive razors. And I know that the one that I have was honed by Bill, and wow, I use it a lot, and it does a great job. So, it's for a beginner, it's not a bad option because they're not that expensive. So, anyhow, that's the show this week. Let's get on with it and get into this thing and see what happens. What can possibly go wrong? So this morning, it's a beautiful springtime morning here, and a little bit colder than it, or not colder, cooler than it has been the last couple of days. Down in the high 50s this morning, but still, it is an absolute pleasure to be living, well, here, because there are other places that it's still cold. I'm glad I'm here. Anyhow, shave of the day today was with some RazoRock P160. Now, I bought this stuff because I'd always been intrigued by it, and of course I enjoy the almond smell of the traditional Italian soaps, and Cella is one of my favorite, and so P160 is also an almond smelling soap. Of traditional Italian vintage, if you will. And so I was anxious and excited to get it, and then of course I come upon a Facebook page or piece that people are reporting that they are having issues with allergic reactions to it and sensitivities and things like that, and I'm thinking, uh-oh. So it was with some, well, excitement, trepidation, and et cetera, that I opened up the new jar of P160 and proceeded to lather up and, well, apply to face. So first off, right off the bat, no irritation, no issues from that regard. So from that aspect, good show. I'm perhaps one of the fortunate ones, and I can only say that, well, there are those that are less fortunate, and it's unfortunate, if that makes sense. Because P160 is seems to be, at least at first blush, first try, first time out of the jar, seems to be a very, very nice soap. Now, it'll be interesting because I want to do a head-to-head with this stuff against Cella, just to see what happens. It seems to have just a little bit more of an almond punch, if you will. They're both have the same kind of scent profile, but the P160 just seems to have just a touch more. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Let's see. So lathered up, used my Samog boar brush just because I hadn't used it in a while, and well, seemed to be the thing to do. And so we went with that, and also used my a gold dollar straight razor. And that was, well, interesting. I only did 2 passes on on my cheeks, and it actually did a very, very nice job. I was very impressed with myself that I was able to do that so nicely. Now the neck, I did cut myself one time. And the reason that I cut, because, okay, so the stubble that I'm trying to get to has a growth pattern that it's growing, kind of towards my Adam's apple from, so if you go ear to Adam's apple and kind of put your finger that way, that's the direction of growth. And so if I go straight up or straight down, it's cross grain and it doesn't get it. I really can't, because the blade is so, well, wide, I really can't, go against the grain or anything like that. And I really can't go with the grain. About the best I can do is cross the grain with a bit of a slide, kind of thing. Well, the problem is that it's those sliding motions that cut you, and it did. So I'm still learning. It's if anybody's got any tips or hints, let me know. Because blood sacrifices in the morning are just, it gets old after a while. It just does. But at the same time, I must admit, about once a week or so, I will pick up the straight razor and make an attempt, and then I'll carry on with life with something else and try to heal up. And oh, it's not all that bad. It's really not. Little bit of the styptic pencil and done deal. So I'll have a little bit of a mark there for like a day, maybe two, and then it'll be gone, and life will be back to normal. And well, good. So it's not that big a deal, but did have a very nice shave on the cheeks. Excellent job there. It's very impressed as always. I'm beginning to enjoy certain aspects of straight razor shaving just more and more. So that's always a good thing. Finished it up with some fine aftershave, some clean vetiver. And, yeah, so all in all, good stuff this morning. Podcast made it on the air last night without issue, which is always a good thing. It's interesting. Every time that I do a podcast, you'd think I'd get better at this, but every time that I do a podcast at night when I submit the thing for, and I pre-schedule it so that I put it in on Wednesday night, and then it finally downloads or uploads or, becomes available. It downloads into the podcast server, if you will, but it doesn't become available. It doesn't like unlock it or open it up and say, here I am until, 2:30 in the morning on Thursdays. That's typically what I do. And then on Thursday mornings, the first thing that I do is get up and look to see, okay, did everything go, as planned? Because sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes I have to, it's been a long time. The systems that I'm using now are very reliable, or at least they seem to be exceedingly reliable, because I haven't had an issue with them. So I guess, yeah, they're reliable. Anyhow, it's just interesting that I wake up on Thursday morning and first thing that I do in the morning is check to make sure that the podcast got out and the feed's live and it's on iTunes, and life is good. It's a curiosity. It's the, a look into the life of a podcaster. So anyhow, it's kind of like somebody that does YouTube videos. They shoot the video, they may edit the video, and then they upload it, and then, they probably go and watch the video, or at least ensure that the video got up on the feed on YouTube, just, because. It's one of those things. It's really amazing, because until I started doing this, it's very difficult to have an understanding of just, how much stress it is. And don't get me wrong, it's self-inflicted stress, and it's not like it's stress from work or stress from the family or anything like that. I mean, on the scale of importance, it's a hobby. Podcasts is, it's stressful. Not really, but there is some stress involved. And there's some time involved, and, so it's just curious. And I would never have known that, and I never would have appreciated that if I hadn't done it. And so, anyhow, the shave of the day today, I used some P160 from RazoRock, and again, I was thinking in the back of my mind of the people who had posted on Facebook that they had reactions to the soap, to the almond oils, I believe, in the soap. I had no reactions to it. So, excellent shave. Now, I will say the stuff lathers very, very nicely. It really was. Now, hopefully, if this weekend things are a little hectic right now at work, but so I won't be able to do it tomorrow. And but hopefully this weekend I'm going to do a head-to-head between Cella and the P160 because, well, they're both, classic Italian almond scented soaps, and yeah, we'll see. I'll throw both my Samog boar brushes in a bowl and lather them up and see just what the difference is. I suspect that this is just my suspicion. I suspect that there's, well, not that much difference because so far in using the P160, it is so reminiscent of Cella, at least for me. So it's it's going to be intriguing because I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe that in a competition there's not going to be much difference, and Cella is the less expensive of the two. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the performance and try to gauge that. And it's I don't know. I've heard about P160 for so long. It's so figured I'd give it a shot and see what all the hubbub's about. Anyhow, the razor that I used, I went back to my Aristocrat, my Gillette Aristocrat. Now, my Aristocrat is definitely a daily driver. The plating's missing in some areas. There's a place where the knurling has been, I don't know, crushed is a good word for it. Whoever had it before apparently had a ring or something and held it in a death grip, and over time the ring just kind of crushed the knurling. So it's not a candidate for replate or anything like that. I mean, it's an absolute daily driver gold Aristocrat. However, it is a fabulous razor. It is so smooth and easy and just, oh, it's nice. It's it's probably in the 4 range on the fat boy scale, 4, maybe 4.5 on the adjustability scale, which is for me, I mean, just about it's about the perfect balance between smoothness and the ability to cut and just, oh, it's just nice. The head isn't really as fat as like on a fat boy, and it's all just good stuff. I mean, it's really, when I bought it, it became my favorite Gillette, vintage Gillette razor. And that's one of the reasons way back when, and I can't remember, yeah, I mean, it was way back in the beginning, when the sophomore shaver got an Aristocrat, and his was boxed, and I mean, it was pristine and beautiful, and it was like, oh man, that is a nice razor. So, yeah, and anyhow, mine is not that nice. Mine is just a daily driver, and it does an absolutely fabulous job. And of course, I've mated it with what for me is the blade, the go-to blade at this point, or at least top tier. I either have a feather in it at any given time, or a Gillette Silver Blue, or every now and then I'll break down if I can get them and put a Rapira in there, or a Crystal. Those are all high quality blades, but the one that I have in there right now is the Gillette Silver Blue, which for me, and again, this is right now, is the smoothest blade. Just absolutely no irritation. I honestly think I could do about 6 or 7 passes with a Gillette Silver Blue and, walk away from that just fine, and just with no irritation at all. if I try to do that with a feather, about past 4, it starts getting a little, I don't know, tender, if you will. Especially if I threw aftershave on right afterwards, I would notice that. The Gillette Silver Blue, not really. It's, again, at least for me. So anyhow, I lathered up the P160 with my Samog brush and went to town with the Aristocrat with the Gillette Silver Blue blade, and a fine shave was had after 3 passes and a little bit of touch-up. Had no issues at all. Just a very, very nice shaving system that was put together this morning. And finished it off. It was interesting. I was like, well, what do I finish it off with? It's, what would go with this? And I ended up, I reached for a sample of Spike that I'd recently purchased, and it is just a sample. It's not a big bottle. It's just a sample. But reached for Spike just to. It's got a clean feeling to it. It's got a clean scent and a clean feeling, and well, I just seemed to fit this morning. So. That's how I started the day, and it was kind of nice. It was relaxing, and I'm ready to face whatever, well, today puts in front of me. So I finally got around to hooking up my nice mobile radio, my mobile amateur radio, my VHF, UHF Yaesu, into the truck. I still need to finish a few things, but so far the signal reports have been excellent, and I have been traveling around with a much better radio than my little handheld. The reception quality is just fabulous. And so I have been enjoying that. So it was a very productive weekend because I finished up the install of my radio and even modified the truck so I have a place to hang the mic that is convenient and well placed, and all in all good stuff. But we're making grounds there too, or making inroads there as well. It's just kind of fun, We're coming up on field day, and getting ready for an expiry where we're going to be pulling out the ham radio equipment and going on hikes and stuff like that. So anything that can be done to increase and enhance the amateur radio experience is always a good thing as well, because if I have it to where it's good for me and get the because every now and then when we're driving to hikes and stuff, we'll talk back and forth on the radios, and I'll have some of the boys here in the truck with me, and they get a first-hand accessibility, if you will, to amateur radio, which sometimes they would not have. So that's always a good thing too, and plus it just makes it a little bit more enjoyable because it's it's using the center console that I actually built. So now I got the amateur radio right here. I got the digital recorder right here. Everything's just basically falling at hand. So, doing the things that I want to do in the truck have just, it's kind of all come together. So I'm rather excited about that. It's a good thing. Because I just, I like to talk. As if you guys didn't know that. Like one guy told me when a friend of mine, when I told him about the podcast, he went and listened to it, and he said, "Do you realize that you have talked for like 70 hours about shaving?" It's like, well, now it's about 80. And yes, I have realized that, and maybe that puts me, I don't know, just one step closer to stepping off the cliff. But that's okay, because the view is great from here. So let me tell you about the shave of the day today. The shave of the day today, I was, a little rushed, but I did it anyhow. I wanted to try, and in fact I talked about the other day, doing a head-to-head comparison between Cella and RazoRock P160. And so this morning, lo and behold, that's what I did. So I went ahead and lathered up the P160 with a Badger brush in the salsa bowl, and the the Cella got lathered up with with my synthetic Plisson in a ceramic bowl, and tomorrow I will flip-flop things around just to take out any of that variable and well, see how it works. So, in both cases, I did the right side with the P160 and the left side with the Cella, and I used my Aristocrat Gillette, which is in fact definitely a run-of-the-mill daily driver Aristocrat, nothing terribly special. But I went ahead and used that with a Gillette Silver Blue blade, and quite honestly, that is an outstanding combination for removing stubble in a smooth fashion. So I lathered up, and like I said, the right side was the P160, the left side was the Cella. Both lathered just wonderfully, and had a the almond scent. However, there was just a little bit of a difference in that almond scent. The P160 had a little bit more of an almond scent. It was a little bit, deeper, thicker, stronger almond scent. The Cella was just a bit lighter, and there was, something else in there. And to me, it smelled like a touch of vanilla, which complemented the smell of the almonds just very nicely. So it was a combination. It was not just the almond smell that I was getting out of the P160. Anyhow, that was the odor difference that I noticed. The lathering, of course, was fabulous. When I shaved, what I did is one pass with the grain, then relathered, another pass cross grain, and then finally the final pass was against the grain. I didn't do any touch-ups. I didn't want there to be anything else. I wanted the variable of different shave technique, if you will, to not come into play. So I went with just with across, cross grain or against the grain, and left it at that, and then washed up and looked at the results. Now, one thing that I noticed, and this was a little, unexpected is a good word for it. The right side of my face looked just a little irritated. Nothing bad, okay? And in fact, if I had shaved my whole face with the P160, I would not have noticed it. But there was absolutely no irritation on the side that I used the Cella. And in fact, just to verify that it was indeed irritation, I went ahead and slapped on some Ogallala Bay rum, and yes, in fact, the right side was, enjoying the effects of Ogallala Bay rum, more than on the left side. And there was just a little bit of redness, just in spots and things like that. So there may be just a slight sensitivity issue. Now, we'll see as time goes on if that sensitivity issue gets, worse. Hopefully it won't. But, okay, if it does, we'll chalk that up to something to learn. But for right now, it was just a slight sensitivity. Now, like I said, tomorrow what I'll do is I'll switch up the brushes, so that I'll do the Plisson with the P160 and the Badger with the Cella, and I'll also switch sides, and I'll see if the irritation moves around with the soap. And again, if it does, that's a good lesson. So stay tuned, and I'll let you know what happens tomorrow. Okay, another adventure in on a Saturday morning of honeydews and stuff like that. So off I am to the hardware store to, pick stuff up. The thing that I need to talk about, however, is the shave of the day. Okay, so today I went ahead and did what I was threatening to do. I flipped the brushes around between Cella and the RazoRock P 160. I used my Aristocrat razor once again, and with the Gillette silver blue blade in it, and lathered up, and this time I switched sides so that the P160 was on the left and the Cella was on the right. Again, same fragrance issues, no real changes there. More of an almond smell with the P160 and just a lighter almond fragrance with the Cella. A little bit of difference, not terrible, not a huge difference between the two, but a little bit, and a little something extra there in the Cella, and I think it's vanilla, but I could be wrong. Anyhow, the shave went well, 3 passes, and trying to keep things about as even as possible with the number of strokes and everything else, and I ended up having just a little bit of redness over on the left side. So the slight redness or irritation does in fact follow the P160, and so that is interesting. Now, it's not again. If I didn't have the Cella on one side and the P160, if I was just doing P160 across my whole face, I probably would not have noticed it. I might have chalked it up to razor burn or to something like that. But this is definitely a reaction to the P160, and it definitely follows the soap. Now, the other thing that was interesting that while I was doing this, just kind of dawned on me, and so I said, well, I'll go ahead and try it, is I took some P160 and some Cella and just put some on my cheeks and let it sit there. Because what I was wondering is, well, if there's an issue with time, in that time exposure, usually when I start on one side and do it that way. Now, remember that I've switched sides back and forth, so it shouldn't come into play, and it didn't seem to have much of an effect when I just kind of left some on there for about 5 minutes and then washed it off. It was about the same as it was before. So there is definitely an issue with reactivity with P160. Now, again, if I hadn't had the Cella to compare it with, or something else to compare it with, quite possibly I would have chalked it up to razor burn. So there's part of me that wonders if people who are suffering from razor burn or such are in fact having allergic reactions to soaps. It's just a question. Anyhow, that's what I found out today. No problems with the shave or anything like that. So that was all good. And well, there you go. Alrighty, so today started off as a very wet day, and in fact, it actually changed my shaving routine. You may ask why. What is it about rain that can change a shaving routine? Well, when I woke up this morning, by the time I got into the bathroom in order to prepare for the day, I looked out the window and it looked like people were taking flash photography all over the place, and there was thunder and lightning, and just Mother Nature was showing her finest performance, if you will. And lo and behold, as I was looking at this, I was thinking to myself, okay, in a thunderstorm, the last place that I want to be is in the shower, where I have conductive water pouring all over me, and no. So I went ahead and changed the shaving routine just slightly, and in fact, shaved first and then jumped in the shower. So today I grabbed the RazoRock P160, and instead of doing a head-to-head with anything, I just used it for everything, and had an enjoyable shave. Now I lathered it up with the Samog 1350 or 1305, one of them. Anyhow, I every now and then I just lose my mind. I get to thinking about other things, and I can't remember details of anything anywhere. It's just it's what happens when you get old, I suppose. But anyhow, I went ahead and lathered it up with the famous Samog bore brush, and of course it did a fantastic job, and lathered very nicely and wonderfully. Although I did notice that it was starting to get, well, just a touch dry toward the end of the shave, which is okay, because unlike when you're doing things with goo in a can, if things start to get a little dry or whatever, the only thing you can do is, well, apply more goo. With traditional shaving methods, you just dip the brush into some water, and voila, things are just a little bit nicer and more like, well, what they should be. So we did that, and everything turned out, of course, wonderfully. The razor of choice today was the Aristocrat, with the Gillette Silver Blue blade in it, just because that's been my go-to this week. And it performed flawlessly. So 3 passes, wonderful shave, a little bit of touch-up, and BBS was in fact achieved, which was very interesting. No real muss or fuss or anything. And it turned out to be, well, very enjoyable and not too strenuous an activity at all. Now, the thing that I did notice, of course, is that I did have just a little bit of redness that I can now attribute to the soap. It wasn't bad. It didn't hurt or anything. And in fact, with the I finished off with fine aftershave. The Clean Vetiver, which is one of the ones that I really, really like. And, I took a shower after I shaved, so I had the order kind of reversed. So, after taking a shower and everything and then throwing the aftershave on, there wasn't any burning or, anything untoward that way. So, while there was a little bit of redness, it wasn't as bad as, severe razor burn or anything like that. It was just mild. But anyhow, that was the shave of the day today. Again, the latherability of the P160 is really, really nice, and it performs very wonderfully. It really does. It's knowing what I know now, okay, between the RazoRock and the Cella and everything else, given the choice, which one would I get? Well, I would probably get the Cella, only because I know it doesn't irritate. I like the smell with the little added extra that's in the Cella more so than just the P160. To me, they both perform pretty close to the same. There's not there's not 5 cents worth of difference between the two as far as I'm concerned. Again, that's just me. So I would probably go with the Cella. I don't know, just because. Now, does that make the P160 a slouch? No, not at all. It's just that I do have a little bit of a reaction to it. And one of the nice things is that, when you have that kind of a situation, you know where it's coming from, you can eliminate that variable very easily within the wet shaving tradition. If you have a razor or a blade that causes you specific issues and problems, well, you can stop using that. And, it doesn't completely unbalance the apple cart, as it were, because there are many options and many choices out there. So I will prevail myself of those options and choices, and, well, I'd pick the Cella. But again, that's just me. So that's kind of been my review of the RazoRock. It's a good soap. It's an enjoyable scent. Great performance, really. Just the only issue that I have with it is that I do get some slight irritation with it. And other than that, it's good stuff. So, what I would suggest is giving it a try. And, if you like the almond smells of things, give it a try. And if you don't have an allergic reaction to it, it may be your go-to soap. It does perform well. It seems to it doesn't seem to have been largely impacted or affected in looks or anything with the fact that I've been using it for about a week now. It doesn't really seem to wear that much as far as out of the can. It almost looks like when I bought it. So that's it seems to be very long lasting, which is good. So yeah, all in all, good stuff, and well, there you go. So I ran into an issue today. So I'm driving down the road and I'm recording a segment for the podcast, and all of a sudden I look down and my recorder's turned off. Like, what the hey? Day before, I was driving down the road and recording on the recorder, and it said, memory card's full. Well, what the hey? Oh goodness, that's what happens when you run on battery power, and the thing is so long lasting that you literally just forget that it's sitting there running on battery power. It's kind of like something on your desk that you have plugged in, and when you turn it on, you just expect it to work because, well, it's just plugged in. I mean, it's really a testament to how much I've grown to appreciate and use and like this little recorder. I'm really, I don't check the batteries. I haven't changed the batteries since I got it. I put the original ones that came with it in there, when I got it, and that's been, I don't know, 2 weeks. And I have this thing on, a lot. I get in the car, and basically the half hour going and coming to work, it's on just in case, in case I decide to, spout words. In non-polite society, they would call that bloviating. Perhaps I'm a master at that. Oh well. Anyhow, it has been an exceptional little recorder. I've really enjoyed it, and the fact that it's right here and handy, and I don't have to do anything. On the old on the iPhone with the system that I had there, I had to turn everything off. I had to make sure that nothing was connected, and it's like, there's about 6 steps just to get to the point where you could actually start recording things. This thing, you turn it on and you hit a button and you start recording. I mean, it's pretty slick. So much easier, so much less complicated. So I really like that. It's really been nice, and because it's been nice, I've found that I have been able to, just driving down the road, if an idea or a thought comes to me, just throw on the headset and boom, out, start talking. Really, I mean, it has really helped with the spontaneity of thought and spontaneity and the ability to just capture streams of consciousness. After coffee, of course, because before coffee, I guarantee I'm not conscious. Anyhow, yeah. So there we are. And speaking of coffee, I have been enjoying the last couple of days some coffee. I'd run out of my Peruvian coffee, and so the next bag that I grabbed was some New Guinea, Papua New Guinea coffee, and that stuff is wow. Oh, it's good stuff. Oh, very 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 tasty. Now I roasted this in my cast iron pan, so it doesn't have that absolutely painted on even brown look to it when I grind it up. It's kind of a mishmash. Some are dark, some are light. It's just, that's kind of the way the beans roast when you do them in a coffee in a cast iron pan. But the flavor, oh my goodness, it's so enjoyable. And in fact, I have been spoiling myself. For example, what was it, Saturday morning, I think it was, or it might have been Sunday morning. I can't remember at this point. I actually ground up enough that I filled a coffee pot with, or a coffee mug with the equivalent of a pot of coffee, just kind of taken down, and because I did it all in my AeroPress. So 3 shots out of the AeroPress to fill that coffee cup. No extra water at all. And of course, because it's fresh roasted and fresh ground, you don't need extra sugar or milk or anything, because really the only reason that you have that is to cover up the bitterness. Well, when you've got fresh roasted and fresh ground, I'm sorry, there is no bitterness. It's just excellent coffee goodness. And so, you can do things like have a triple shot or a double shot, and it's like, oh, it's just excellent. Excellent coffee. In fact, I had a double shot this morning, and it was, one person accused me of, oh, if you drink that, you're going to be wired all day. Well, maybe so, but I'm going to enjoy it because it's good stuff. So that's what's happening on the coffee front, too. So a little bit on the coffee front, a little bit on the digital recorder / podcasting front. We've got it all going on here today. All right, everything's set up here, and let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so this morning, I had a little bit of extra time, and so I splurged just a little bit. Well, at least it's splurging to me. I went ahead and shaved with a straight razor, and so that was fun. It worked well. Did something just a little bit different, and I'll tell you about that. But use the RazoRock P160 soap with the Samog brush, and wonderful lather. Used a little bit more water this time, just a touch, and it seemed to provide lasting lather goodness. So that was good. Went ahead and lathered up and proceeded to shave with my straight razor. A nice 3-pass shave with my straight razor. And then one of the things that I did that was just, a little bit different is that I have consistently and constantly had problems with my neck underneath my jawline area. That has always been just exceedingly difficult for me to shave. So what I did this morning was just a touch different. I typically, with a double-edged razor or single-edged razor, I typically do a 2 or a 3-pass shave and then touch up. And then when I'm touching up, I'm specifically concentrating on that neck area. So going kind of sideways at it, and different directions that help get it down to a dull roar. So what I did this morning is, I have tried, I have heard, I have, and I have tried, where you reach over your face and you grab your cheek and you pull upward to basically pull that skin onto the flat area or flatter area of your cheek so that, you can actually get to it. Okay. So I did that this morning, but it was after I had done a 3-pass shave. And one of the things that, has always been a conundrum is that when your hands are wet and, you got soap on them and all this, it's difficult to get a good grasp on your skin. It just is. So what I did this morning is did the 3-pass shave, rinsed off completely, dried my cheeks, not my neck, just my cheeks, dried my cheeks, and then reapplied the lather to my neck. Reached over with a dry hand, grabbed a dry cheek, pulled upward, and proceeded to get the area that I needed to get. Now, I still need to practice the technique, but it seemed to work very nicely. It's not bad at all. did a very good job. And then just to finish up, I did another pass against the grain along my neck and chin, right there in front. So all in all, a really nice shave. Finished that up with some Clubman and some Pinot. So all in all, good stuff. A good start to the day. Very relaxed, very comfortable. The other thing that was interesting is I seemed to notice, just a little less irritation from the P160, which actually caught me by surprise. I would have thought, to be quite honest, that my straight razor was just, a tad harsher, rougher, than my Gillette Silver Blue and my Aristocrat, which has always been an exceedingly comfortable razor. So it was just curious. Either that or else my face is getting used to it. I'm not sure quite which. But again, please don't take this wrong. I'm not saying that, oh my gosh, I'm having allergic reactions to the P160. I'm not. It's just a slight redness. It's just, that's it. It's and again, it wouldn't be noticeable at all if you didn't have something to compare it with. If you were just shaving with it straight off, it would just look like you'd shaved. It's no big deal. So, good stuff this morning. A little almondy goodness, classic Italian almondy goodness this morning. So, RazoRock P160, all in all, a good soap. Very happy with it. Tested it out. Gave it a head-to-head. Performs, very, very nicely. Does a good job. There is just potentially, and I'm not going to say there is potentially an issue with irritation. But at least for me, it was so minimal that it was very easy to discount. So not an issue at all there. All in all, great stuff. So it is a wonderful spring morning here, and spring has indeed sprung. Pollen everywhere, trees, budding out. The ornamental trees have flowers all over them. The tulips are up. Tulips are gorgeous. So, we had the early show of the daffodils, and now we're getting the lovely show of the tulips. So great stuff. Anyhow, the shave of the day today, during this past week, I had been using and kind of doing a comparison head-to-head between Cella and RazoRock P160. And I really like the P160, but I also really like Cella. Cella was always one of those underrated soaps, in my opinion. A classic scent with the almonds, very similar to the RazoRock. So since it was sitting on the countertop, just sitting there hanging around, waiting for someone to say, hey, let's get together. And there it was. So I picked up the Cella and used it. Now, I did something a little bit different this morning. I bought a brush way long time ago, and it was a little short, chubby brush, and it was a Simpson brush. It's the only Simpson that I have, and it's a little stubby brush. And I hadn't used it in a long while, because, I didn't really fancy it. I didn't really particularly like the fact that it doesn't hold a lot of soap, and that it was just way scrubby. So it had been sitting on my shelf, languishing. And so that's what I decided to use today, just, because. So I picked it up, and, with the trusty salsa bowl and some Cella soap, we whipped up a lather, and off to town we went. Now, for the blade this morning, I went back to the Gold Dollar straight razor. I don't know, just something about it. I just decided to do another straight razor shave. I'm starting to get, well, I don't know, maybe not good at it, but at least comfortable enough with it that I can do it in a reasonable amount of time. It doesn't scare me. I don't cut myself, those kinds of issues. So that's what I did, and did a 3-pass shave, and the cheeks are just absolutely BBS. Now, I did not use my technique just to see, if there would be a difference. And my neck is, socially acceptable, let's put it that way. So there is an issue there, and, it's my typical issue. So, anyway, I'll finish that up with some Ogallala cedar and sage and bay rum, and, I enjoy that stuff, although it doesn't have as much, I don't know, what's the word for it, puissance, power, sting, if you will, as the regular bay rum. There's just not as much, I don't know, slap in the face, bay rum goodness in it. So it's mellowed down a little bit. And so the bay rum's just a tad light, and it's got a little sage and cedar in there. Really nice scent, just very light. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day, and there you go. So I'm off to work to enjoy an absolutely gorgeous day today. Hopefully today will be as good as yesterday was, because yesterday I actually walked out of work feeling like I'd accomplished something, which is, sometimes that doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes you walk out of work and go, what the heck have I done? It's kind of like when you shave and you've got a razor that just, I don't know, just not getting it. It's too mild, or it just doesn't cut well, or whatever, and you go do a couple passes and you rinse your face and you go, what the heck have I just done? It's like there's no change, no difference. So, anyhow, it's all good, and, hopefully... now, of course, there is one individual in the shaving community that, doesn't necessarily have to worry about things quite the same as some of us other poor slobs, and that would be Mantic59, who retired officially yesterday from his... 9-to-5 job, or his regular ball and chain work hours, if you will, and he's doing something that if we can support it, we need to, because he's taken Sharpologist full time, and if you haven't checked out Mantic59's YouTube videos, they're exceedingly instructional, and have been, they're really a great help, especially when you're first starting out. He does great reviews of things as well, and his website, his page, Sharpologist, is just an absolute wealth of information. It truly is, and so if you're looking for diversion, that would be a good place to start. He goes into all kinds of stuff. So anyhow. Hats off to Mark. He is retired from his regular job and is taking a passion, in fact, our passion, the passion of wet shaving and traditional shaving methods and things like that, and he's taking that full time. And so, hats off. Good luck. Anything we can do out here to help you, let us know. My, how things have fallen. So, today, I went to pick up my Plisson brush. The brush that is oftentimes referred to as the brush of the gods. Well, apparently, angels have fallen. So I pick up the brush, and, usually when I... First off, I don't soak this brush. It doesn't stay in a humid environment. I usually, when I have it, when I'm not using it, it is in a stand with the bristles down. So it spends virtually no time with any kind of exposure to moisture on the handle. Well, anyhow, I went and picked it up, and lo and behold, a chunk of the finish, which is like a plastic dip finish or some garbage like that, it's fairly thick, but anyhow, a chunk of it, chipped off. What the hey? It's, this is not good, I've got a Samog brush that's got a painted handle that I have used and abused, soaked the whole thing. I mean, just drop the whole thing in water for, while you're taking a shower, and done that day in, day out. And I've got no chips, no nicks, no scrapes, no degradation, no nothing. It's a $20 brush. Now, unlike a lot of people, I did not buy this brush on sale. I did not buy this brush when it came down to $30. I paid full price. I paid $55 for this flippin' thing. Quality. Sometimes when you think you're paying a fair price for a good product, yeah. It reminds me of an article that I read the other day that concerned Beats headphones, in that the markup is just so astronomically high that realistically all you're paying for is, well, marketing. You're paying for the name. Now, I will admit, Plisson was kind of, at least in the shaving community from my perspective, a tad revolutionary when it came to bringing synthetic bristles to the fold. There were others that were out there, but the Plisson just generated so much hype and so much interest in the synthetic brushes that they have now become, well, very, very popular. And I understand why, because they are good brushes, and goodness knows the Plisson is in fact just uber soft. Okay. However, the handle is a piece of crap. I'll just come out and say it. The handle is a piece of crap. Okay. Well, maybe the handle's not, but at least the finish is. Let's put it that way. The finish is a piece of crap. Garbage. Painted on plastic or whatever. Dipped. I don't know. But it's a piece of crap. So, disappointment was had this morning because out of all the brushes that I have, I didn't think I would be disappointed in my Plisson. Especially since it is acting essentially identical to the Kabuki brush that I bought and literally sawed the handle in half on. Yeah, that finish, that paint or plastic dip has chipped, but it was $7. Duh. You don't expect something like that from a $7 brush. Anyhow. Quality is something that, well, it's lacking. It's lacking big time. I don't drop my brushes. I'm gentle with them. Like I said, I store it with the handle up, bristles down on that particular one just because it came with a nice stand and, well, quite honestly, nothing else that I had really fit the stand. And so that's where it sat. It didn't sit on its handle. When it wasn't in use, and yet it chipped. That's just, well, poor. Just absolutely poor. Unsatisfactory. Yeah. Anyhow, it does raise the question of where the hell has quality gone? It's, I know where quality's gone. Quality has gone to the artisans and the one-off manufacturers, the people who do custom work. Yeah, you pay a little bit more, but you know what? You get quality. And if you ever do have a problem, well, first off, you probably won't have a problem. If you ever do, though, you can talk to one person instead of a company. I honestly believe that once you start getting up into companies and numerous people and stocks and profits and everything else, I mean, I'm sorry, that's as soon as if you ever have a company that has to initiate a quality control department, yeah, I would much rather have, just small artisans, small vendors, small, folks that do stuff by hand, that care, that, are not looking for the least expensive way to make things, but in fact, looking to make good quality products for their customers. So I saw an article the other day, and I'll try to put up a link in the show notes to the article itself, but it was an article specifically about Beats headphones and how essentially what they're selling is marketing. In that, when you read the article, what it basically boils down to is the headphones themselves are like $14 or $15 worth of materials, and they're selling them for $100. So it's all based on marketing and celebrity and endorsement, and that's what sells those things. And when you read the article, you think to yourself, "Oh my gosh, we're such, that's terrible." But when you step back and think about it, that's what we face, every day, the onslaught of marketing. And so I sent it to a friend of mine, David, and said, "Hey, this is," because he's got, let's just say he has family members that like headphones and are concerned about brand and image and all that. Okay, fair enough. But you have to understand what it is you're paying for. And in some cases, that is exactly what you're paying for is, the brand. It's all well and good to have a great product, but, you can look around and you can find great products, and the companies that make them, really aren't making something that's that good. On the other hand, you can look around and find something that is mediocre but has absolutely great branding, and typically the company is doing, great. So, or at least making a lot of money. They may be, squandering it in other ways, but they're bringing in a lot. There's a lot to be said for branding. And he pointed out, and I thought rightfully so, that, marketing is, everywhere. He said in an email that was sent to me that, when you, if you're a guy and you're going to try to find a girlfriend, you're essentially, marketing yourself. Man, he's absolutely right. And if you're a girl and you're trying to attract a guy, you're marketing yourself. And if you're going for a job interview, you're marketing yourself. And in fact, if you're a hunter, you're marketing yourself to whatever it is you're hunting. You're marketing the fact that you're not dangerous or that you're not even there. So marketing is everywhere. Okay. And I understand his point, and he makes a very good point. The thing that you need to be aware of is not necessarily that marketing is bad, because it's not. Some marketing is good. What you need to be aware is that, marketing exists, and that it exists everywhere. Have you ever noticed how much time and effort people put into symbols and logos and trademarks, Why is the Nike swoosh so recognizable? It's because they put it everywhere and they branded the snot out of it, and it has become, iconic. And so in a lot of cases, when you pick up something that has that Nike swoosh on it, you are paying more for the swoosh than you are for the article itself. It's just a fact of life. In fact, in business, they actually put a price when a business is sold, or when the assets of a business are evaluated. They actually put a price on the brand and the image, of the company. And the only way you can do that is, through marketing. It has to do with the good name of the company, et cetera, and there is, a certain level of marketing involved in doing that. So it's not, I guess maybe my rants on marketing are, you have to take them with a grain of salt, because what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to get across is you need to be aware of the marketing, and you need to make your own decision as an informed human being as to whether or not you want to be persuaded by the marketing, or if you want to, in fact, buy the marketing. For example, I think it is easy to say at this point that a cartridge razor, a multi-bladed cartridge razor, where the blades are, in a molded piece of plastic and not held very well, and there may be 4 or 5 of the darn things, but they don't necessarily give, the best shave. They can give a shave, there's no doubt about that, but they may not be giving the best shave. However, if you look at the marketing for them, the marketing would lead you to believe that they are the epitome of the shaving experience. If you look at the marketing for, Gillette foam or Barbasol foam or something like that, the foam in a can, you would be led to believe that that is the epitome, the be-all and end-all, the final, the final thing that was ever created for lather, for shaving lather. Now, for us that have been wet shaving for a while, we know that, that's not right. There are a lot better things out there that do the job. But it's the marketing that has, the marketing is proposing that we accept the premise that this stuff is, better than what it may be when compared to other things. If you look at fast foods, for example, or, foods that are pre-prepared in packaging and brought to stores, they again sell the convenience and the time, very similar to shaving, as a matter of fact. However, when you look at, what's actually in them, it's pre-processed, there's salts, there's MSGs, there's all kinds of stuff that under normal conditions you may not really want to eat. And yet at the same time, they're selling you the premise that this stuff is faster and easier, when, in fact, maybe it might save, a little bit of time, but it may not, in fact, be faster. And it may not, in fact, be easier. But they sell it to you like it is. And so people buy into that, and, okay, I'll buy all this stuff, and somebody's making a lot of money off of it, and people are eating things that, when you look back at it, maybe we shouldn't necessarily be eating, because it's not necessarily the healthiest for us. And again, it's marketing. So it's really one of those things where, marketing exists. Marketing exists everywhere. I mean, driving to work, you see signs, you see, advertisements, you see all kinds of stuff. I mean, even the name badge on the car in front of you when you drive to work, that's marketing. They want you to know that it's this specific brand, and if you happen to like that, the look of that car, now you relate that look with the brand that they have basically thrown in your face. Okay, I get that. But the thing is that you need to be aware that it's there, you need to be aware that it's happening, and you need to be able to make that conscious decision, that well-informed decision, as to whether or not to accept the marketer's premise. Because quite often, marketers will tell you things that are, maybe not the whole truth. For example, a cartridge razor is the best shave that you can get.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at brushandsoapandblade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.